So hello and welcome back to GAA Predict. We've Sean O'Sullivan, Paul Flaherty. Both guys don't need any introduction, and I can safely say this show doesn't really need any introduction either because, let's be honest, we give it socks to Sean's last week after Kerry getting knocked out. So Sean, over to you. You have a double-barrel gun really here. Two defeats, two Galway lads to insult. The Kerry lad sitting in the grass. Yerra, over you go.
See, that's the difference between Kerry and Galway,
Yes.
fellas, lads. I wouldn't do it to you. I wouldn't do it to you.
The messages were a bit different, though, were they?
Well, look, I suppose the football first. Yeah, look, I suppose everyone probably expected Mayo to do the business, and they did. They won a fairly tight, scrappy affair above in Galway. Conditions were poor, obviously. That Salt Hill wind made it a game of two halves, I suppose. Mayo dominated in the first half, even though Galway stuck in there and battled hard and went in at half time. I would say in a very I would have said Pádraig Joyce was in a very happy position at half time, considering the elements. They frustrated Mayo a bit. I know Mayo on the other side, James Horn would have been disappointed with some of Mayo's shot selection, but we've all been there, lads, with a gale force wind behind you sometimes, and you just feel that, if
the radar is a bit longer, isn't it? You can edge a bit more.
Exactly, and when you get any sight of goal at all, you take them on. And Galway had Mayo had some poor shot selection in the first half, and probably should have gone in more ahead at half time. So Galway were well in it, and Galway obviously then had the elements at their back in the second half. But as much as they pegged Mayo back bit by bit, they could never really get on top of them and really force their game. And to be honest with you, the big question, I suppose, for people going into the game was, how would Galway having no game and Mayo coming in with games under their belt affect the result? And to be honest with you, there was a stage of the second half where I felt that Galway were just maybe getting on top a little bit, and I thought they might have turned the screw, but it just seemed that Mayo were able to pull on the fitness and the conditioning and the games they have under their belts already in this year's championship to just stop Galway from gaining any of that momentum, and they pushed on again up the other side of the field. And look, going down into the last few seconds of the game, they were a point up. And of course, the talking point is that last play of Galway's. You might have a different view on it, I don't know. But I mean, for me, I looking back at it a few times since, there was definitely a call for a free, if not a penalty there, to bring the game to extra time. So it was that tight. It was that tight. From Mayo's perspective, they'll probably be happy, obviously, to win the Connacht Championship, and they're into an All-Ireland semi-final where you'd expect them to, whether they face Cork or Tip, you'd expect them to win. They got through now with a real good test from Galway. I mean, they had no test from Leitrim. They had no test from Roscommon, really. But they got a real good test yesterday, and they'll bring that into the All-Ireland semi-final in a couple of weeks' time. But overall, disappointing game. The hurling, we'll probably talk about later. Galway will be disappointed in that one. They'll be really disappointed. I mean, you got to take your hat off to Cody. He sprung his bench, and it was the bench for me that won it for Kilkenny in the end. I mean, that goal from Richie Hogan, just if there was an admission fee for the spectators, it would have been worth it. But all in all, a tough weekend for you lads. But I'm going to take the moral high ground here, and I'm not going to slag you.
All right, he must fancy Galway for the All-Ireland. Then is that what you're predicting, Sean? The hurling All-Ireland?
No.
Oh, God. You couldn't even give us one hope. It's like, I'm not going to give you a stick, not going to give a stick. I think that's the second knife gone into my back there now.
Well, look, I'm not a huge hurling aficionado, and I know we'll talk about it probably in the latter part of this. We'll probably cover the football first. But it's very hard to see past Limerick, even though they got a huge battle again from Waterford. But similar to Mayo, that will do Limerick the world of good, having a test like that, because they had no test really so far. So John Kiley, even though he was giving out about other things, I'm sure he'll be happy with his side getting a good old battle from Waterford. But I still have Limerick just out in front to win the hurling. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will be in that camp. I think that was a game that we'll touch on a bit more. Sure, why not go into it now, actually, Paul? Waterford, kind of did well to hang on. I thought that Limerick, a couple of substitute Flanagan coming on, a couple of crucial scores, and then at the end, Limerick showed all their experience, and I thought on the other hand, Waterford showed all their inexperience. They felt like they were trying to walk the ball in towards the end, where they might have been better off just tipping their points, whatever. It was just that bit of extra a couple of laps the circuit for Limerick proved the key really in the end, didn't it?
Yeah, Limerick, they're really going strong though. Like their physical condition, and it's just immense. And I think going back to the Galway Mayo and other games. I think teams can stay in the game a bit longer with the conditions. I think it's easier to kind of grind out and stay in matches as much as possible. That just with the wet weather and the conditions, like even Galway Kilkenny, like it was raining for the Cork hurler match there as well, like it was raining there as well. So I think it's easier for teams to stay in it, like because let's say with the Galway Kilkenny, like in the first half, Kilkenny just stayed in it with freeze, and it was just like.
Was it eight scoreable frees or something that TJ popped over? Like, you have to say defensively that all the talk coming into the game was how would Galway react with TJ and Fennelly inside. I thought Dahi Burke pretty much cleaned Fennelly out of it. TJ was absolutely lethal from set pieces, from the frees. He just pinged them over left, right and centre. Didn't get a lot from play. Maybe Cody did a little bit on Loftus, in terms of winning frees and stuff like that. But by and large, if you could just get rid of that discipline problem, it was a comfortable enough first half of Galway, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, and I know we've totally jumped from Limerick match down to the Galway match.
That's such a nutshell.
From Galway, or what's the story? But I was saying like that. I think it's easier for teams to stay in matches. I'll go back to the first one there. Like Waterford, they did well. Like Austin Gleeson, he does some class things, but he does some of his shooting as well can be a bit catastrophic as well. But Shane Bennett was unbelievable there for Waterford up front, and then you had Callum Lyons and a lot of their young lads were just tackling. Like the work rate they're bringing is just unreal. So they gave it. It was 50-50 there for a long time, but just that bit of class there from Limerick just saw them over the line. Flanagan coming on, and they've got a great bench there, so they really have strength and depth, and that's kind of what you need now, especially coming into this kind of season, as like you're playing in, week out, or maybe every second week. And if a lad picks up a knock, you have to have someone that will do the exact same job there. So like every team needs a good panel, and it definitely showed. For Limerick, but Waterford, they have Clare next. If they beat Clare and build a bit of momentum, and they have to play probably Kilkenny, then maybe you wouldn't know. They could sneak their way into an All-Ireland final there. But Limerick were a credit, and they're the favourites. But everyone has kind of built them up for a big letdown. So hopefully there's a surprise package there in the hurling. Probably go back to your point there on the Galway Kilkenny. The first half, like Galway were all over them, and they played very well. And it was only really the freeze that was kind of keeping Kilkenny in the game. And then, as you said, Sean, Cody made some big changes, like taking off Colin Fennelly, Conor Fogarty, and Walter Walsh around the 55th minute. Like they have a lot of All-Irelands between themselves anyway. So like he made big calls and brought in Hogan and two other lads. And I think the second goal, like the first goal was unreal and everyone's talking about, but the second goal, I think it's Killian Buckley, and he's hitting the ball and he's trying to hit Hogan, but it actually goes over his head.
Straight through to TJ, and then he takes on GMAC, and he's able to, what a finish. The way he just holds it up, gives him a chance, and then flicks him across. It's just, I was just behind it, so I could see the ball going straight in the corner, and trying to remain as professional ever, and going, oh no. But Galway reacted well. You talk about the Kilkenny subs, like Jason Flynn came on. I know people are some people are critical about the goal opportunity. Maybe should have gone the other side, but he got a savage point from out under the Cusack. Hart did very well when he came on. He closed up that defence for, I'd say, the first quarter of the game in particularly. Galway looked like they'd kind of got on top there, particularly that 5-point lead was around the same time. And then, of course, the returning David Burke as well, 2 great points as well. And it felt like Galway were coming. It was just the goals and how they reacted. And then at the end, it was just typical Kilkenny, wasn't it, really?
Yeah, as I said, like Jason Flynn came in, he always brings a serious pace. And if you're a cornerback with 50 minutes under your belt and you see Jason tall, long strides, he's got a powerful shot. So it's not great. It's for the opposition, like it's not great to see him coming on, but he played well. David Burke obviously got 2 or 3 points, played very well, and Aidan Hart came on at half time, and he was very influential. But as Shane O'Neill said after the match, he said it wasn't frustrating. They bounced back. They went 2 or 3 points ahead, but it was just like two balls hit off the post for Galway. And if they just, it's a game of inches, as Henry Shefflin said it after the match. Like if them two just went slightly the right way, it'd be Galway in All Ireland semi-final. It wouldn't be Kilkenny. And I see a lot of people are like, oh, that's Galway now. They don't have the bottle. I heard Don Oak saying it. They don't have the bottle or the heart. I don't believe it at all. I think that it was there. They got 2 goals that were kind of in a minute, and they. 2 balls hit the post. I think Galway are still a big force for this championship, and I would definitely not be ruling them out at all.
Yeah, that was the thing. Even speaking to Shane O'Neill afterwards, Sean, he was remarkably positive. Obviously, he knew that he still has a route to the path. But how hard is it after, like you've experienced going through the back door, winning the All Ireland as well? How hard is it to stay positive after a result like that, or do you just have to just try and get it out of your system and round up the houses again?
Yeah, absolutely. And the big thing when you're facing that situation, Jonathan, is how the management and how the real leaders in that squad, just, as you said, circle the wagons and get ready to go again, because you can't leave it fester. Of course, you'll be disappointed. Nobody wants to go out into a game thinking, we've a second chance here, we'll go through the back door. You want to go out and you want to go through the front door and win the game. But when it doesn't happen, you're disappointed. But straight away, you have to say to yourself, okay, we're not gone here. And it would be, as Paul rightly said there, it would be a lot harder to raise the troops if you got absolutely beaten out the gate. Do you know what I mean? And you were by far the second best team. You were completely destroyed. Galway were very much in that game, and only for a small little bit of misfortune and bad luck, they could be the ones in the semi-final. So Shane O'Neill will have no bother at all getting them back and getting them ready. They'll be back into training this week and getting ready for
Tipperary.
Tipperary, sorry.
Same colour.
Yeah, same colour. But no, I have to say, I watched Tip and Cork on, was it Saturday evening?
Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, and I was impressed with Tip. Even though Cork had a good second half. I was impressed with Tip, but he'll have no problem getting Galway ready to go again for this weekend. And you know what? In a way, it's great to have the short turnaround, because if you're a player there and you've lost a game, you just want to get right back on the horse. Whereas if you had to wait 2 weeks and you had to go through another weekend again of hanging around and training, and he'll keep them fresh this week. They'll be chomping at the bit. He might have to look at his selection maybe. He'll obviously have learned a lot from the Kilkenny game, but he'll have them ready to go against Tip for the weekend.
Yeah, no, I think coming into it is that Galway, although they lost, there's still a lot of positives. I thought the performance was quite good in large areas. So yeah, it's something we will see how they react to the weekend. The other big result on Saturday then as well, Sean, this is one that you kind of trampled over. I think myself and Paul actually last week, we were both talking up Armagh to put up a good performance here, and you were very much on the Donegal flag and side of the camp, and you were right, as much as you might want to record that bit out, because I probably don't say that very often, but they looked blistering. They got the win in the first half, they got the lead, and they never really looked close even to giving it up, did they?
No, they were. Look, I expected probably more from Armagh, like yourselves, but I just never saw them beating Donegal. Now, did I see them being, put to the sword like they were? Probably not. But yeah, I think was it the second quarter that Donegal just took over. I think they outscored them 1-7 to a point, and that was even I watched an interview with McGeaney after, and he said that was it, game over. It was going to be very, very hard to come back from that. He was disappointed that Armagh had opportunities in the first half to take on Donegal, and that they didn't really take the game to them. He made a good point that when you go in against these top teams, you have to take it to them at some stage. You can't just, as Paul said, maybe hang in there for as long as you can. You can't. There's going to come a stage where you just have to go and test yourself and test them. And Armagh never did that, and Donegal just had quality all over the field. And, right now at the moment, from the outside looking in, they're definitely the number one contenders to Donegal, or to Dublin, excuse me. They definitely have the forwards. They have the guys around the middle. They have the keeper. Have they the defenders is the question. I'm not so sure yet. And look, they're only going to, their next test will be against Cavan. But they're definitely up there in terms of the only ones I can see, probably with Mayo, that could possibly knock Dublin off their perch. But they were never in trouble at the weekend. They were superior all over the field. And Armagh, look, McGeeney can look back in the year as a positive one. They're up to Division 1. But, I mean, they're going to be facing the calibre of Donegal in Division 1 now every weekend next season. And that's going to be a real learning curve for them. And staying in Division 1 by going on that performance is going to be a tough task for them. But he won't worry about that today. He looked back on the year positive enough, but they're a coming team, Armagh. They won't disappear. Let's put it like that, especially with him in charge. But they were completely out of their depth against Donegal at the weekend.
Yeah, Donegal look a class act, you have to say, and a team that this isn't me being disrespectful or anything like that. That tribes in the conditions this time of year, they look like a team that are, they're cloned up and designed to do well this type of year.
Well, the thing I like about Donegal, Jonathan, is they can play it any way you want. If you want to play open, expansive football, they have the players to do that. If you're going to shut up shop with them and make it a physical battle, they'll do that. If they're going, they can put men behind the ball and soak and frustrate you. They can catch you on the break. They have it everywhere. The only question marks I have is their defence. They're probably maybe lacking maybe one or two more defenders with a bit of experience. I know they have a few injury worries. You'd wonder if the likes of Owen Bon Gallagher and Neil McGee or Ryan McHugh, if they get injured early in a game or something like that, that they could be struggling for their replacements, for guys to come in and take up the mantle from them. But if they can keep injury free, which I think they have so far, and get over Cavan, and Dublin get over Meath, that'll be one hell of a battle in a semi-final, you'd expect. So we'd be looking forward to that one, certainly.
Yeah, and then Paul, there was another. Speaking of battles, Ulster battles. The other semi-final in Ulster turned out to be quite a battle as well. As there's one I was actually keeping an eye on your app, your What's the Score app there on Sunday. I think
you got that one wrong as well, lads. Did you?
Which one? I think I went for Cavan. No, I think I didn't back up anything up with Donegal. I think I went for them in the end. We'll pull up the table in a minute once we've rounded through them. It was one of those where I was kind of, that sort of lad giving it socks outside the chipper, but being standing behind two or three of his bigger friends. That sort of way. But Paul, I was keeping an eye on your What's the Score up there on Sunday. I think Cavan were 10 down at one stage. A remarkable comeback, really. Awful conditions again for a game of football, but they did enough. Cavan did enough to grind down. If that's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? But there we are. From a Cavan point of view, you'd have to be very pleased with that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Cavan, they're doing up all the upsets, and I know Sean is building them up there, building Donegal up, but only Cavan are loving to hear that. So I don't know, maybe next week I might go for Cavan just for the crack, because they seem to just pull it out of the bag the whole time.
They're definitely the team of comebacks this year, aren't they?
Yeah, they're doing really well there. And I picked down last weekend. I thought they just would have too much for Cavan. I thought their lucky run would come to an end, but they must have their kit man must be a leprechaun or something like that. There's a bit of good luck with them.
I love the way. So you can see the headline here. Paul just dishes Cavan. It's all down to their leprechaun kit man.
Well, I'll tell you who should get a lot of credit is whoever's doing Cavan's conditioning work. I don't know who it is. Maybe we can find out. But everyone said going into the down game that Cavan would be leggy because they played Monaghan, they played Antrim. Throw in the two league games that they had after lockdown. In these conditions, soft pitches, that they were going to get found out, and obviously they did get found out early in the game because obviously Down racked up such a lead. but for them to finish so strong and make the comeback, they have to take huge credit for that, because they could have very easily blamed the legginess, if you get me, for them getting beat. But between Mickey Graham, I think he's a great motivator, and along with the conditioning they've done, they were able to claw it back and get the win. But I just feel their luck has run out, lads. I can't see them. I think Donegal are just far superior to them, and will have too much experience for them, too much power and guile to be. They'll have better forwards as well than anyone Cavan has faced so far. Like, if you look at Cavan's games so far, they played Monaghan, who were very dependent on McManus. They played Antrim, who, with the greatest respect, wouldn't have an all-star lineup. Paddy Cunningham would still be their main man, and he's the wrong side of 30. And against Down, again, had Down any... I'm 40, Paul. And then Down, Down wouldn't have any, Jerome Johnson there, and O'Hare. I know we talked about O'Hagan as well last week. But again, they're going to come up against Murphy, McBrearty, Thompson, Gallen. Donegal's forwards just reel off the tongue. So I don't think Cavan will have the backs to mark the Donegal forwards, to be honest.
Perfect. Well, we'll look a bit forward to the next week's games. Just will we
just
couple
on
more?
the down match. Yeah, just on the down match there, like Cavan, like they were down. It was 1-10-6, and the ball that came in for the penalty, I don't know if you see it, like, but your man went out of the pitch and came in behind the keeper to touch it down, and the defender had no choice only to kind of pick it up off the ground and try and shovel it out for 45. But technically, like, it should have been a square ball. I don't really know the square ball. The square ball is it's an unwritten rule there in hurling and football. Like, the referee just kind of calls it. Depends what side of the bed he wakes up on. Like,
It's always class one in a club game where there's no official or kind of no third party umpires, we'll call it. You might have a lad from each side dragged out to do it, and in effect they waive the points, the scores, and that's about it. And then the referee is to try and make the call from further out the pitch, and as you said, Paul, it's guessing work at the best times. But you would say, I think the Sunday game touched on it as well, a couple of those kind of decisions, that momentum, that luck went Cavan's way there. I think the one as well that kind of struck to mind to me is, and this isn't given out to Cavan or whatnot, it's the rules are the rules at the moment, but I just don't like the advanced mark at the moment, because I think the equalising point, Callaghan, he was able just to come tearing out for a ball on the edge line. You would say it's almost perfect defending. You've got your body goal side, you've ploughed him off, he's in an unscorable position, you'd have to say, or all you do, because you have the line one side, and then you come outside of it and block him off. Your angle's blocked. It didn't look like he had a lot of support, but yet he was able to come tear now, catch the ball, and then come back out for the marked equaliser. I just don't. It doesn't feel like Gaelic football. I mean, maybe there's a bit of it that we've got to get used to, but still, but it just does not. That doesn't sit right with me, I have to say. I don't know. I'll probably go overboard with it, but it just doesn't feel right to me.
No, me either. I think the advanced mark is going to go, to be honest with you. I think there's a lot I think slowly but surely there's a lot of dissent from people about it, and I think, you can say what you want about the GA hierarchy and the guys that make the decisions, but I think if there's enough I suppose frustration and people out there against the advanced mark, I think, like, what teams are going to be doing now, and I know you're a big NFL fan, Jonathan, but what teams are going to be doing now is, setting up plays for advanced marks.
Moves, yes.
Yeah, they are, exactly. And like, I get that's coaching, and that's another side of coaching, and it can be good, but is it just taken away from the natural flow of the game? I mean, we want, in Gaelic football, I suppose people compare Gaelic football to hurling quite a lot, and like it or don't, that's always going to be the case, because there are two national sports, and they're always, put side by side, particularly in the summer when it comes to the championship, which was better, the football or the hurling. Football, you need to keep football as fast as possible and keep the game flowing as quickly as possible. And by introducing this mark, which is a stop-start, even the mark out around the middle of the field, again, it's all stop, start, and sometimes it's like, okay, he did he call the mark there or didn't he? And hold on, the referee's allowing him play on here.
Has he made a step? Has he not made a step?
Well, exactly. Has he stopped it? Is that a free? Has he given a free there, or is he bringing it back for the mark? It's such a grey area. I think they should just left it alone, particularly for the advanced mark. Like I've no problem with having set plays from sideline balls and from free kicks. I've no problem with it. In fact, not going off on a tangent here, but our Kerry manager in 07 and 08 was Pat O'Shea from Dr. Crokes, and we went on training camps to Portugal, and Pat would, for a lot of our football sessions, Pat would put maybe a half an hour, maybe 20 minutes aside where we would work on things from sideline balls and free kicks. So depending on what part of the pitch you have sideline.
I don't think I've come across that bar before, have I? Where is it?
No, this was
sorry, this was before all that. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
Yes, yeah. But like, and that is coaching, and Pat was a brilliant coach. He was a completely different type of manager to Jack O'Connor or Paddy O'Shea. He was a real technical coach. He'd love to have these set plays in place for a sideline ball or a 45 or a free kick. But I think this advanced mark now is going to lead to teams, running these plays, these NFL style plays. And look, it is what it is. They'll try and take advantage of it. But I'm in agreement with you. I don't know how Paul feels, but I think that advanced mark should be binned. And even the mark out around the middle of the field,
get rid of it all.
I think that should be looked at as well, because just keep the game fast. Keep it fast, keep it flowing as much as possible.
I think the one in the middle is that, okay, you catch it in the middle and then you want to hit it in as long as you can to kind of catch out that not everyone is flooding back. So I might keep the one in the middle, but I agree with like you could be out. Yeah, that's what teams should do. Like if Brian Finton catches the ball, he'll hit it straight into Conor Costello or whoever's in the full forward line there. Like, so move the ball fast. Because I agree with you. Like some of the games there, you watch football. Like you're going back and forth and it's very pedestrian, and it's very like basketball now where there's kind of an arc there around. You have the D in GA, but the D has gotten a lot bigger now in terms of shooting ranges and all that. So definitely I'd probably keep the mark in the middle, but the mark there in the full forward line, as in that match against Cavan there, it just, like if he got that ball, he would have had a lot of work to do to get that ball over the bar, but instead he jogged out 5 steps, had a nice look at the post, washed down his old socks and togs,
and away you go.
Yeah, which I like in the I don't. You need to keep the flow of the game, as Sean said. You have to keep it as fast, because hurling is so fast that everyone's kind of saying, "Oh, it's hard for a football season to better a hurling season because the games are so fast and explosive." But when you're watching like the hand passes going across the field back and over, it's not very enticing or enjoyable to watch sometimes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we're not going to talk on it now, but I'm going to save it for another day. But you can stew it in the back of your minds, maybe for next week if we get a chance. Cynical play is still a big problem in it, and cynical play pays, if I can get the words out. We've seen a couple of, I don't want to talk about it too much this week because I'll be accused of being biased, because there was 2 of them that went against Galway, both Galway teams over the weekend as well. But park that in the back of your heads. We might come to that as well. We'll quickly run through I think we have a couple more games just very quickly before, because I know we want to look on to, there's a lot of football in hurling next weekend as well. Wexford, Paul, Clare pulled it out of the bag, or more so Tony Kelly pulled it out of the bag. What a phenomenal performance.
Yeah, like I said last week that I predict that Wexford are going to win because Clare only have Tony Kelly, and all they have to do is
that's all they need.
I said all they have to do is just mark him now, and Wexford will pull out a big performance and they'll beat Clare. But it went total the opposite. Tony Kelly, fantastic. I think our game plan now, and kind of going back a few years, but when I was playing with LIT and hurling, like he was midfield for us, and we had a game plan, like Davy Fitz had a game plan, but the real game plan was get the ball to Tony Kelly and he'll do it. Like, so I think that's I think it's the same game plan that might be happening it's an unwritten or an untold game plan that they're at the minute. But if
they were phenomenal.
Yeah, just keep giving them the ball. But the Shane O'Donnell was very good. Colin Malone as well. They all pitched in. It wasn't on TV, so I didn't get to see much of it now. But I know Wexford didn't have Lee Chin.
Yeah, he was a
Which
big
is
loss
loss for
because
them.
he only
They
came on
need him
pretty
to
much
be
on one
kind of
leg at the end,
pulling
didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, but Davey now, he's getting a lot of stick now, and I think they're on about will he go for the fifth year. I hope he does.
He is staying on.
Is it? Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I hope he does, because he only had 2 matches, and it's with the year that's in it. We're lucky to even have the matches. So maybe he didn't get the best out of them, but it was only 2 matches. He'll have a bit of a lead, one right go with them for the last year, because he's done a serious job with them. And if it had to finish now with that kind of an ending, I don't think it would justify what he's done down to the place, because they're all buzzing down in Wexford about him. So but fair dues to Clare. They're playing Waterford next weekend, so that should be a good one.
So, Sean, another one of your former Kerry Buckos, disappointment day out, particularly a disappointing second half, really, for Kildare. It looked like, for all the word of the half time, I think there were 6 up. And then Andy McEntee must have got the hairdryer on the double socket and blew it up in front of all their players. 5 goals in the second half. We saw Meath rack up a huge score against Wicklow. We put that down mostly to what we thought was a poor Wicklow, or weakened Wicklow team, but they've done it against Kildare and they just opened up, and that's maybe one of the shocks of not shocks of the summer, but just at half time it looked like they were all done. It looked like Kildare were cruising, and then that's some turnaround.
I heard an interview with Jack after, and he said in all his time in ball, and Jack's been involved a long time in football, he's never been involved in a scoreline like it. I mean, he was just speechless. They were comfortable. They were in control of the game, and somebody asked him what did he say at halftime. He said, "Well, I mustn't have said the right thing anyway." But all credit to me. Like we saw them. We saw them, as you said, rack up goals against Wicklow, and we probably put it down to maybe Wicklow not being very, very good at the back, but we've expected Kildare to be a lot tighter. But you have to give credit to Meath. If you look at all their goals, the majority of them, they come from real, direct, strong play.
Yeah, they almost have a total football kind of style where at times they do sit deep, but then they all bomb forward together.
Goals win games. It was 5-9, so they got 14 scores. And what did Kildare end 15. Up with in the end?
15 points.
15 points. So they got more scores than more scores than Meath, but they were absolutely blown away. Lost by 9 in the end, was it? 9 points in the end, was it?
5-9 to 15 points. So some turnaround. It's remarkable.
I wouldn't have it as a major shock, but it's a massive result for Meath football, and now they have a Leinster final to look forward to, albeit they'll be raging underdogs in that as well, but that might suit them.
I know, Paul, you joked last week about the Cork people robbing the Brabant out of Kerry there as well. I think in the last couple of minutes there's definitely some hammering going on there. Sean has got away unawares completely, but there's a couple of gremlins in the system. Speaking of gremlins in the system,
He's stopped there.
He is indeed. He's ready to go.
Yeah.
Meath, we've seen 2 impressive enough performances from them, definitely in scoring threats. How long are they going to be able to hold against Dublin? Have they even a chance of doing the unthinkable?
I don't think anyone will fancy them, and as Sean said, I think Meath have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain and nothing to lose, so they can just throw off the shackles. They have probably had a bit of pressure in that Kildare game, and obviously they didn't perform, and Andy said a good few words, and John at halftime and got them going again. But I think I've seen a few of the goals. One was it was just it fell on the 6-yard box and was kicked in, and I'd say Kildare would probably be kicking themselves. I think the goals weren't as straightforward. I think they could have been avoidable for sure, but they've got 12 goals in the last 2 games. I don't know how many goals Dublin concede. But so I just it's Dublin are just going through it again. I was actually watching the Dublin game there for a few bits, and they were poor enough, but like they just blew Laois out of the water there. Kilkenny was pulling the strings. Paddy Small was very good, and Brian Finch in midfield is just and James McCarthy. They're just powerful runners and everything, like, you know. So Dublin, it's Donegal. I hope Donegal and Dublin meet, because even for like a spectator, whatever, a neutral, for us, like, it's going to be some game, and I hope they do. They probably will get meet each other, but it will be a great game when they do. And I hope they're both kind of primed and there's no injuries or anything like that, and they give it a good go. But I don't see. Colm O'Rourke reckons that Meath will give them the shout, but I don't. I think Dublin are going to bulldoze through them, and yeah, that's my prediction.
Yeah, so we'll see. Look, I think that wraps up all the weekend's action. We just have to look at the moment of truth. The Blackgarden was more so about our county's performances rather than our personal performance. So let me just flick up here on screen if I can find it even. I will flick up the results from last week. So they're always good to keep an eye on. A bit of slagging back and forth. Don't forget, you can of course join us on playerpredict.com. And join in the fun. Just you can go down, you can select the Gaelic football or the hurling, or there's the Premier League when that returns as well. And we will pull this up here now. So guys, were you happy with your own performances last week? That's mine there in the football, and it was I suppose one doesn't really count because that's just my head going for with a really the goal result. Apart from that, it was almost a clean slate. Had maybe another referee decision or so gone my way. You might have been looking at the full shebang. There was actually a couple of people that did get the. I go here to the leagues. There was some people that got a number of people that got actually 3 people. Bowes 180, Desmac and Rock 1 all got the 100%. So that's fair going, I have to say. That's me in the middle of the table there, 9th with 4 points. Sean, you got 3, and Paul, you got 3. So neck and neck, you have to say, in the run of things. That was the football. So yeah, not really too much slagging we can do there. Not really, as I said, it was more about the county's performances. And if we quickly look at the hurling then as well, that's next week. So if we go back here, 2 out of 4. Yeah, so the Wexford was the one that got me, and Galway again. So Galway did the double on me. Not only did we lose both provisional finals, we lost both my predictions as well. That was me, so 50% on that. And we look at the league table, then in the hurling game, so that was me with my 2. Couple of people, no 100%, couple of 3s, a few 3s actually. Paul, you got 2 as well, and I'm sure I don't see you there. You mustn't have bothered the Kerryman in full style. Yeah, that's. Totally...
I don't think I'm registered for the hurling. To be honest with you, cool. Jonathan, I leave that to your the small ball experts.
Yeah, I suppose you leave that to the digs in the WhatsApp group, is it? But. Yeah, no. So that
how's the overall league table on the football?
So let's have a look at that if we go to the leagues, and then football. I'd say my week of if we go to the monthly one. So we've Aina on 12. We must get Aina on a show soon. We need to talk about him. He's a guy that's always up on the top of the prediction charts. I'm on 5, but I shot myself in the foot there 2 weeks ago by not pressing save. So make sure you do remind people of that every week. And press save predictions. Sean, you're actually doing very well as well. No wonder you wanted to look at the table there. Yeah,
I'm in the Champions League spots.
Yeah, you're just outside the Europa there. I think on goal difference there now you're out. So the top score is Aina on 12, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on 11. So that's some going neck and neck. This week's could have a big say on that. So look, speaking of next week, then let's have a look then on. I suppose we'll look at the hurling first. That's the one that comes in on Saturday afternoon. We have both quarterfinals, so both provisional losers from the weekend just gone by are out. So it's last chance saloon for a couple of teams here. We'll pull up the fixtures here now as well, and we can look at them. But it is Galway have to play their near enemies and rivals, and whatever way you want to describe it. We've seen some epic, and epic is probably an underused word for some of these games. The 16 and 17 games will kind of live long in the memory, I think, 1-point swing either way. Tipperary victorious in 16 with a 1-point victory in a game that was just ebb and flow. And then the following year, another game of similar nous. I think Joe Cannon scored the winner, and it's like one of these urban myths that he was halfway up the Cusack stand when he stuck that winning score from all the way out on the sideline. A remarkable score to seal a remarkable win. Something of the same again, Paul. 1:15 in Limerick on Sunday. It's a game that's available to watch on RTE, but it should be another humdinger. Paul, what do you think? Are you going to go with your heart again in this one, or is the head going to swing in?
Oh no, I'll be going with the heart. I'm going heart and head. This week.
Okay.
Like as I said there with Galway versus Kilkenny, like they were winning for most of the match, and then obviously the 2 quick goals kind of disrupted them, but they got back on track, and it was just 1 or 2 small decisions that didn't go their way, and they would be in a semi-final. So they're really going well, and even the bench as well, as we said, Hart and all
David
the lads that
Burke
came
as
on,
well.
like, they all had an impact. Yeah,
The question is, will Shane O'Neill, will he start Burke now after such a dominant display? Loftus is the question mark as well. I thought he was very tidy on the ball. I think Kenny and Cody Style did target him. They did seem to try and put a lot of pressure on him in the first half. Cody loves these mismatches, or trying to create mismatches. Probably when he looked at the other options inside, kind of getting closed off from play as well. So a couple of decisions for Shane O'Neill, you'd have to say.
Yeah, well, the managers are going to have a huge part in this, because like it could come down to maybe matchups, as you said, and team selection. So Sheedy as well is another shrewd character as well. So he could put in someone tricky there. You wouldn't know where he might put John O'Dwyer or somewhere. So a lot will come down to the management and the selection as well. It's going to be a humdinger. Is it on in? Where is it? Tullamore? Is it?
It's in Limerick.
Limerick. It's in Limerick. Okay, yeah. So yeah, it'll be a good game. I'm definitely going with Galway. Tipperary, they did do very well last week, and they won bad, which is always kind of not a good thing for the opposition, because they didn't play great, and Jake Morris got a goal at the end to kind of wrap it up there. They didn't really pull away from Cork. They kind of hung in there. So Tip they'll have loads of things like Mayo against Galway. They'll have loads to improve on, and they won't feel like they actually won convincingly. They feel like they'll have to prove a point, while Galway actually did well in lots of places. So they just have to bring that game again. But it's going to be 50-50. It's going to come down to inches again. It just could be a ball hitting the post. It could be a red card. It could be anything. But I just hope Galway come up the right side of it, and I'm definitely going for a Galway win.
You're locking in Galway there. Just quickly before we hand over to Sean, interested in your viewpoint from someone that has played at the highest level. We saw Dahi Burke come back and give what I thought was an absolutely immense display at full back against Fendley. He's another joint of the game to try and manage. Small matter of Canlan now, probably most likely on Saturday. How do you see that one going? Probably a battle that could have a huge bearing on how the game goes as well.
So Dahi first came back there fullback. He was just solid. He's just so solid. Just doesn't do any complicated stuff. If a high ball's coming in, a high ball came in between him and Findlay, and he just did his natural there, just pull the hurl over and catch and hand pass it out. He won't drive the ball, he won't go for a mad solo run. He'll get it, he'll hand pass it. He always makes the right decision, it feels like, anyway. So he's a solid fullback there. I know Richie Hogan kind of got in there once or twice there when he came on, but that was probably a good decision by Cody to bring in fresh legs and experience there, especially on his first day out. But he was. But I see Sheedy is probably going to move a lot of the forwards and keep the Galway backs thinking. That seems what every kind of hurling team does now, that they rotate the forwards to keep the backs thinking that they're not kind of comfortable on this lad hasn't scored in 10 minutes now, I've got the upper hand. They'll move someone else, another forward onto them, so they're always rotating. So it will be very interesting, but Galway.
You're locking in Galway. I know. Sean, I know we won't delay you long with the hurling, but you're staying with your own buddy, Liam Sheedy, or are you jumping on the Galway bandwagon?
No, I'm going to go Tipperary, lads. I saw them against Cork on Saturday evening.
Might have to boot them out altogether here.
I take Paul's point. They won bad against Cork. Cork really came at them in the second half. Cork had some brilliant performances in that second half. Seamus Harnedy particularly was very, very good. In fact, if Cork had another free scoring forward like him, I know Horgan did his usual, but they got very little return out of Lehan when he came in. Fitzgibbon came in and he was flashy but no end product. But on the other side, Tip had some brilliant performances. Michael Breen was outstanding in the middle of the field. I think he got 5 points from play from midfield. He was excellent. Seamus Callan had a quiet evening. He, talking about your match up there with Dahi Burke, Damien Cahalan did very, very well on Callan. He stuck into him, and it was a dirty old evening, but he kept him quiet. But you had some good performances from the Tipperary subs. Is he Connors? He came on wing forward. Willie Connors, he got on a lot of ball. Jason Ford took his frees. They brought a guy on in the corner who had a great county final. Was he Flynn? Jason Flynn. He came on. He got a great score at a vital time. So I just think Sheedy will relish. You know, his fellas will be bouncing after the win. I know the Galway defeat won't be a huge factor. They'll be happy enough going into it as well. But I just feel Sheedy's beginning to get a little bit of momentum into the Tip fellas, and I'm just going to edge for Tip in a tight game. I think they might just get over the line.
Nice little political angle in the way there at the end. the other quarterfinal is of course on in Páirc Uí Chaoimh on later on Saturday evening at 3:45. It is,
that's
of course,
Waterford against Tony Kelly, is it?
It is indeed, yeah. I might get the guys to change the name of the team there. It's a game that's available to watch on the Sky Go, or Sky Mix channel, I beg your pardon even. Are you going with Tony Kelly in this one, Paul, or are you going on the Waterford to follow up another decent performance?
I'm going to go for Waterford, and this one, I just they have to learn from they'll obviously have good analysts, you know, the Waterford crowd and the stats and all that, and they'll look and say, all right, Tony Kelly's got, I don't know, 70 or 80% of their
stop him.
scores. So we just have to. I would put like a man marker. I don't know who. I wouldn't maybe take Jamie Byrne out of the game, but I'd take one of my wing backs or something, and just be on the whole game.
Follow
him
to the toilet, and it was the old expression, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Follow him to the toilet or whatever it has to be done. So because like if he's not playing well, Clare don't really click, and I just think that Waterford they're really going well with Liam doing a great job there, and their work rate seems to be just unreal now. Hopefully, like Austin Gleeson there, he takes a lot of pot shots, which I don't really like. I prefer if he was doing a bit more kind of linking up the play and stuff like that. But the two Bennett, Stephen and Kieran are going very well there as well. And your man Desi Hutchinson's inside. They seem to leave him kind of one-on-one. They try and isolate him as much as they can, and he just goes from each wing in the full forward line there. So he's a very good target man. So I would be fancying Waterford for this one. I just think Clare are just going to... I think the one trick pony is just it has to come up sometime.
I'm going to lock mine in here as we see them on screen, the two hurling quarterfinals. I'm of course going to go Galway, and I'm going to edge towards Waterford as well. I thought they were quite impressive in large periods of that game against Limerick. So that's who I've saved them there now. If we quickly move on, my predictions have been saved. It's always reassuring to see that after you completely mess the game up. I would have been miles ahead of Sean only for that. Let's switch over then to the big ball. The first one, we've touched on it really already. I cannot see anything but a Dublin victory here. I think Meath will definitely give them you'd have to say, you know, give them a battle, give them a fight, but I just think it's probably going to be similar to the last 40 Dublin games or so that we've seen, however number that is. I just pulled that one at the top of my head, where we've seen teams put up a bit of a fight against Dublin, and then Dublin just cruise on and hammer on the scoreboard and win comfortably enough. It's hard to see anything but that in that game Saturday night. You guys keep it brief on this one. Anybody say any differently? No. Yeah.
No.
There we go. I thought as much. The other two provisional finals actually then on Sunday. I think these ones could be interesting, and we'll start off with you, Sean, if it's not too insensitive still, after that defeat. You know, you did lose, Kerry did lose to Cork, didn't they?
That's right. That's
sorry,
right,
scrolling
Jonathan,
through the fixtures here. I can't find Kerry on the fixtures anywhere. I'm only slagging. This is going to be a closer game. It is, of course, the Munster final, 1:30 on Sunday. It's a game that is, it's on RT actually there as well, just popped up. But I think this could be closer than a lot of people make out. I think have the potential to at least give Cork a very good game here.
Yeah, that seems to be what everyone is saying. Look, Cork obviously, had a huge win over Kerry. I'm sure their confidence, they bounced into training last week. They'll bounce into training this week. They're still buoyed by that. The big question mark for Cork now after ending that Kerry hoodoo is, can they build on it? Can they win a Munster Championship? And can they drive on to an All-Ireland semi-final against Mayo? I think they will. I think they will have enough for Tip at the weekend. I know they played already in the league earlier in the year and Cork came on top. I know it's completely different kettle of fish, championship football. Tipperary will be coming in the long grass. They'll be quite happy. They just got over the line against Limerick in a really tough battle. A little bit like Meath, as Paul was saying, Tipperary can go for it. They're in they're in bonus territory. I think they got the added bonus of Colin O'Riordan has been cleared to play, the Sydney Swans player.
Huge, yeah.
That's massive. That's a huge addition because he has been in training with them. It's not like he's just going to walk in the door the day of the game. He's been training with them and obviously knows where he'll fit into their plan. So that's a huge addition. It only helps them. I'm not sure. Have Cork got the all clear for Keane? I know they were talking
Seems to be
Collingwood.
Conflicting reports on that.
Yeah. So now I don't think he'd start anyway. Whereas,
but sure, he wouldn't have any impact on the game.
I could see Reardon starting for Tip, whereas I couldn't see Keane starting for Cork. If you get me. So that's not going to be a major. Well, it could be a major shift for Tip. So it does. It pushes Tip a little bit closer to Cork. But I just think if this was to turn out to be a Tipperary win, where does that leave Cork again after such a massive win over Kerry? So I don't think Ronan McCarthy will be taking anything for granted, but at the same time, he'll be really looking for Cork to push on. So I'm going to go with Cork. I'm going to lock Cork in, but just about.
It'd be the most Cork thing ever, Paul, wouldn't it, if they were to follow up that amazing victory with the defeat to Tipperary. No disrespect to Tipperary, but like Cork, you've seen with all their league form has been highlighted, probably over the top the last couple of years, but it's just remarkable how low down the league divisions they dropped. But to lose this game would be inconceivable really for Cork, isn't it? It's a game that you have to feel that they must win if they are to kind of come back to the top table that they dined on for many years.
Yeah, definitely for a county that's so big and they have lots of tradition as well. They probably have more football tradition than Tipperary would. Like Tipperary is more hurling. Like so, like Cork, I think would they really put their stamp on this year, that to say the Kerry match wasn't a fluke, they really have to back this up and say, yeah, we're a real serious team. We're going to beat Tipperary by 3 or 4 points or whatever it may be. They really have to put their stamp on it. And I'm with Sean here. I think Cork are going to do the business. They looked really fit and really kind of well drilled there against Kerry. And I know the conditions were terrible, but I think they'll just have a bit too much for Tipperary. And if they do get past, they should get past it. They
have a nice handy semi-final.
Playing Mayo and like. You wouldn't know. You just because like they could pull out the bag again and they could be in an All-Ireland final there before we know it, like in a week or two. So I ain't going to go with Cork. You'll hear about it, Sean.
I was about to say, settle down, let them beat Tipperary first before you start talking about All-Ireland finals. But I am going to agree with you both. I am going to lock in Cork on this one. The last one is the Ulster football final. I think that this is another straightforward one for me as well. I think Cavan's run has been remarkable. I think they've shown remarkable character. I'm a big fan of Mikey Graham. And you look at his CV in recent years as well, Mulliachta and now with the Cavan revival, because they were a bit away and they've put in some great performance, and even some of the memories that they've given their supporters in the last couple of weeks alone. But I think ultimately this is going to be one step too far against Donegal at the weekend. I think Donegal definitely are. There, I'll say it. I think Dublin aren't in the best of form at the moment. They're ploughing teams through, but they are making. They're that team that are too good. They know they're better than everyone. But I think that arguably Donegal are in great form at the moment. Probably maybe even the number one team form-wise at the moment. I'm really hope that they come through, because the semi-final clash with themselves in Dublin would be the stuff of ages. Really, it's of course the last team to beat Dublin. And it'd be a huge game to look forward to. But winding it back a bit, Paul, I'll go to you first. You went second the last time. Do you agree with me to see Donegal wrapping up the Ulster title?
Is this me? Is it?
It is you, Paul. Unless you've changed your name.
I couldn't hear you. It's spit in and out there. Sorry. I have to get the Kerry lads are robbing our broad.
But you see, the Cork lads took it off the Kerry lads, and now we're going to have to go.
Yeah, so we need to get it back here. But I'm going to go for Cavan.
Oh, Jesus.
Because they have the leprechaun as the kit man. And
well, I'm glad you give a valid excuse or valid reasoning for your logic here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Cavan just because there has to be an upset in the weekend, and I'm from a neutral point of view, I'd absolutely love to see Dublin versus Donegal. I think, as you said, it would be the game of ages, and it probably would be a mini All-Ireland final there if they do meet each other. But I'd go for Cavan just for the crack.
Very good. It feels weird going to anyone else, Sean. How can you follow that up? Are you going to have the crack as well?
I thought the pubs were closed. Was he in a pub? The pubs were shut.
No, I'll be not Molly there now. There's a couple of sheveens.
No, I have to firmly disagree with Paul there on that one. I'm going for Donegal all the way. Just can't see it. I know he talks about a possible upset, and there's always nearly one. But no, I think if you whatever way you look at this, and Cavan have been brilliant, and they've as I said, people have been questioning their fitness. Are they going to get tired? Let's just put it this way: all can get on top of Cavan the way Down did. I can't see any way back for Cavan again. It would be too much to ask, because you're talking about Donegal are the best team in Ulster, and I know they only got over Tyrone by the kick of a ball in the first game, but they've only built on since then, and I can't see Cavan getting near them on the scoreboard. They'll fight, and they'll Cavan will bring what they've brought the last 3-4 weeks, but when it comes down to it, Donegal just have too much quality in every department for them, and I think they'll win and win. I think they'll win handsomely, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what the weather is like for the weekend. Obviously, conditions again will play a part, but I just see them.
It's snowing at the weekend.
Snowing, is it?
You see, the leprechaun will keep the snow away. That's why he's fancy Cavan.
We'll have to go yellow football, so like you've gone with yellow slippers, will we?
Something like that. But whatever it is, anyways, I'm going to join you on board and preempt what you're going to say, Sean. I'm locking in. I'm locking in Donegal over here, and I'm going to save my predictions. And that is my predictions for this week on playipredict.com. I will see, does the lucky leprechaun join on board? Might get him to see whatever way or whatever.
That's the name of the pub Paul's been drinking in, I think.
That's how rumours start. Play I Predict does not condone the illegal visiting of pubs or whatever you want to call it at the moment. But it is, although it's probably a more shorter fixture program than we've seen in recent weeks. There's still some huge matches there. You have, of course, the quarterfinals and the hurling on Saturday are two massive games. Two of those teams are going to be gone. And then the provisional finals take place on Sunday. I think they're going to be two great games as well. Another two teams gone. So it does look like it's going to be another busy weekend of GE action, and certainly loads to watch. What game are you most looking forward to quickly then, guys, before we wrap up? Sean, what game are you looking forward to most? Cork
I'm
watching Cork. Sorry,
no,
I put in Cork watching
no.
win a Munster title.
No, I'm actually I'm going to go the other code. Actually, I'm quite looking forward to seeing Galway and Tip. I think in the hurling, I think that was probably the standout game of the weekend, because it's very, very difficult to call, because both teams put in excellent, decent enough performances at the weekend. So I think that for me will be a standout one. Yeah.
And you, Paul, you probably somewhat agree there, or are you looking forward to watching your leprechaun? I'm just messing. Do you agree with Sean? Are you looking forward to watching the Tip game, or are you looking forward to watching your leprechaun up in the Ulster final?
Oh, well, I'm looking forward to them all, really.
There's the go of the party. Of course, they are all available on what'sthescore.com. Every live score. Yes, absolutely.
And if any of them are on at the same time, you can always log into What's the Score to keep them updated.
And of course, you'll have all the ladies football as well there as well. The one-stop shop for your up-to-date scores if you are out and about or watching one game on TV or whatnot. So give you your plug there.
Yeah. I would definitely be the same though. I'm definitely going Galway and Tip. It's there's been so many rivalries there down through the years there, and it's always a point in it. And the two sides have quality forwards that can score from anywhere. There's always a touch of magic or something class will always kind of come out of it at the end of the day. So there'll be a lot like was it Joe Kang that was sold down the line and Porrick Maher gave him.
That was in 16, yeah. I think there's still a mark on the ground there.
Big shoulder over the line, there a couple of years ago there. Yeah, one of those. Gareth McInerney gave it back to him, didn't
he? He did the following year, yeah. So there's definitely there's a lot of side plots. We'll put it that way. It should be a fascinating game. Actually, some great games all around on the weekend. But I would have to agree that's the standout one for me. We hope, but sure, look, we don't care what type of game it is, as long as the maroon and white are going in, and probably going to play Limerick next weekend as well. I'm sure that'll be another easy game, won't it? Let me just wind up all of Limerick as well while we're at it. Listen, folks, we'll let you go. We've taken enough of your time up for us. Thanks very much to you both for joining us.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Don't forget to join along and do enjoy and join in and join the leagues there as well, and make your predictions for next week. Just visit playerpredict.com, go down to the predict tab, and then it's just a case of clicking whatever competition you want to watch or you want to take part in. There is the Premier League when that returns, the Hurling and Football Championship. Just click in it and then click whichever one that you want. Of course, no draws available for the Gaelic games, because we have to have winners in the days. We haven't seen penalties really that much yet. So we will see if there's penalties this weekend. Galway Tip on penalties would be quite an ending. We thought we'd seen everything in that one, and look, sure, if Cavan go to penalties against Donegal, they'll have a lucky charm there as well. Yeah. I think we're going to be slagging from about this one for quite some time. Listen, folks, we'll let you go. Do join along. Stay safe and enjoy all the sport. And thanks for joining us here again on GAI Predict.
Great stuff. Thanks very much.